Yes, hello. Yeah, thank you for joining. It's really a pleasure and an honor. Actually, I have been searching for more closer contact with anthroposophic communities for a long time. But unfortunately, I didn't really find it didn't really connect well at Dornach, and I have been following the Chicago Rudolf Steiner branch also for some time now, and was very fascinated about the program. And it's really a great pleasure to be here tonight or today here for the others. Um, I can assure you that the second and the third part of this lecture series will be more fun. If I mean, we will have to talk aloud about a lot of numbers today, and I'm trying to. Andre has already warned me. Make it simple in a way that it's being will be illustrated by stories and by music too, of course. Maybe for an introduction, we would listen to a piece of mine that is actually it's part of a project that was premiered a few years ago with a fantastic ensemble. You will see it in the video, and that is in a way reimagining ancient music. I mean, we know very little about music from the time around Christ's life on Earth, but uh, so I did not want to share direct recordings of archaeomusicologists here because I was not sure about the copyrights and about everything. So, but we have a very nice recording of the beginning of actually, but that is monophonic. That is also it maybe reminiscent of Middle Eastern music in a way that gives you an impression of how music maybe sounded in ancient Greece. Maybe just as an overview over the whole series, um, oriented, of course, after a Steinerian concept of music, we will follow the history of Western music in a way that we will have an understanding how, since antiquity, we have kind of we are moving out of matter again, that we are, that the connection between the physicality of music and our actual psychological experience of it are actually already detaching. And that may also be the cause why we have these kind of these very strong polarities at the moment in musical life between what I called in the preface commercial and intellectual music. This which can maybe identified as Luciferic and Achemanic. Maybe let's just listen to this 4-minute piece first of all. It is sung in Latin, and for that reason, there I added subtitles just last night. So it will take some time till the music starts. This is from a project at Heidelberg with the fantastic Klangforum Heidelberg, and the core of the piece is polyphonic, and it is very complicated because it is in just intonation, and the ensemble did that really in a fantastic way. It is the music opens those extended harmonic dimensions I will talk about in the next sessions. So we will now, I have prepared a, this must be it, yes, a slideshow. Yes. I'm sorry, I just have to close that again. I don't understand why it is not coming. I don't know. Just excuse me, maybe I have to save it. Just a second, I'm sorry. Because it does not allow me to open the slide. Just open. No. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is kind of so. Just a second. So I open it again. Yes. So now I'm sorry. Okay. So that's it. Yes, exactly. Yes. I just don't. Yes, well, there will be more information on the next slides. The question about music in general is that in this arithmetic tradition, which we would trace back to normally to the Sumerians or to ancient Babylon, we see the first the first real exact mathematics at a time when people have no numbers and they also cannot measure. I mean, they cannot measure sounds in a way we do it today. No? I mean, they have ratios and they have strings that are vibrating, and if you divide these strings in certain exact proportions, then you get exact intervals that will always be the same. So at that time, music was the only precise way of science, in a way. And for that reason, it bears a very important role in the in the cosmology of these people. And as we will see, there's also something that we might identify as a sort of original sin in the tuning system that would be identified as as something like an error in creation that with which especially the Hebrew people who wrote the Old Testament would deal with in very virtuosic and playful ways. Um, I would, as an introduction to the to the basics of how sounds actually, or how our tuning system is built. I have also prepared a little video that I will show just in advance. I think this is easier to to just get to the point of what is actually, for some people this might be well known, of course. No? I mean, it is just to take everybody with us. So here we are. Yeah, this is a film that I prepared a few years ago for the Academy of Science and Literature in Mainz. It was supposed to be funny, but it is very informative, just very basic. Hello, I'm Dr. Stefan Pohlit. You've just listened to an excerpt from a composition for the Persian Santur by Father Mas Paiva. The ingredients of this music are universal and quite simple. For example, the interval of the octave that simply transposes the same pitch onto a higher intensity. The perfect fifth that introduces a new pitch quality. If, however, I only touch the string instead of stopping its vibration, the pitch won't move proportionally to the movement of my finger, but rather jump from one interval to the next. This is caused by an underlying grid which we call the harmonic spectrum. You may compare this experiment to what a prisma does with white light. Every prime number produces its own unique interval in relation to the fundamental vibration. This is how mathematics and sound are intrinsically connected. If instead of division I lower the frequency, multiplication will result in the same distances below. Musical intervals reflect very specific properties and behaviors according to their numerical identity. Analogies to this can be found in nature. In his structural mythology, Claude Lévi-Strauss provided a simple thesis to describe how they function. First of all, the acoustic phenomenon in itself bears no connotations. For that reason, music will always be bound to some degree of abstraction because, unlike the visual arts, it first has to filter its palette to obtain pitches from chaotic noise. In second instance, the musician configures the inherent discontinuity of harmonic signals to hierarchical relationships. With this model, Lévi-Strauss unknowingly anticipated the concept of periodicity with which modern neurophysiology describes the brain's processing of acoustic signals. Although the brain translates all information into electric action potentials, the involved neurons fire in proportional time delay by which they can simulate the metric pulsation of musical intervals. Nature is often organized in two-level cybernetic circuits. Such a control exists in the heat receptors of our body. We find a similar principle in the theory of evolution. For example, depending on seasonal fluctuations, most mammals change fur. However, the balance of this somatic change is maintained, the gene code remains the same. Conventional tonal music still confesses to a set point established in the acoustical cosmology of the ancient Near East. In the Genesis, God rested on the seventh day. The seventh proportion was thus excluded from earthly concern. Plato, along with the ancient Sumerian, Pythagorean and biblical writers, referred to music as the only exact science they had. However, they also had to deal with a struggle between two incompatible constants, analogical and digital information. The 12 pitches are obtained from a cycle of 12 perfect fifths, which we first have to pile up until, at the last step, we may reach a far octave of the original vibration. The fifth is slightly too wide in order to fit in such amount into the octave. As if the divine creator committed a mistake, each interval must be, so to speak, circumcised by a fraction of this amount. At last, our tone cycle runs in perfect symmetry, but the necessary crime is compensated by the introduction of irrationality. Thank you. Yeah, this sums up actually very much what we are going to see, but more in detail. And yes, here we are back. Yes, exactly. No, yeah. So the basic elements we have seen now are we discuss musical pitches in form of tone ratios. That means that there's always an arithmetic proportion. And this arithmetic proportion, it's actually a division on the string or on a vibrating air column. and that gives a certain interval. So we always have a connection between number and pitch. And for the ancients, actually numbers were like intervals. They had a psychological meaning. And yeah, we will see how this can be developed. We have also the problem of prime limits uh, that is important to understand the psychology, this, let's say the psychological framework of tuning systems. Most of what we will see today is just a limit 3 or limit 5 system. This is just the first prime factors that exist, and the overtone series, the possibility of prime factors is of course infinite. And we will in later sessions we will see how these can actually be extended or have been extended already. We will also see the conflict between just tuning by ear and a theoretical system that always assumes that cycles are built of 12 parts. No? And this is in the ancient cosmology, this is of course coincident with other things like the division of the year, for example, or of the day, no, by 12. Um, but that leads to irrational values, to the square root of 2, which is yeah, actually the first digital system of humanity. So we can see that music is actually very much involved in the problem of digitality. If we now just take a look at the overtone series, this is just the beginning, the first partials to the 16th. This is when it's like when we divide any given tone uh, like a prisma, and then we will have like different colors of white light. We will have different pitches coming out that actually compose the timbre of any given natural sound, no? Of any given natural instrument. In electronic music, this is a bit more complicated. But what I just wanted to show, I mean, I have used different colors here in order to show that we have different when we have a new prime number coming, it also introduces a different cycle of something like a new dimension, actually. But these dimensions always overlap, they mix. So, for example, 7 multiplied by 2 is just the octave, no? But it of course shares a property with the dimension of 2. No? If we have now, for example, 3 multiplied by 5, 15, it will also become, this is not correct here. I mean, it should be like something like violet, maybe, no? Like a mixture of blue and red here. This is just arbitrary colors that I chose, of course. No? But if we systematically observe prime factors as dimensions of music, then of harmonic music, then we will come up with something like different spatial dimensions. We will have different axes for every prime number. This is actually in traditional music theory, like Hugo Riemann, he actually created something. He called it the tone nets. It's a tonal grid for proportions in perfect fifths. So the third um, the number 3, and for the factor of 5 for the natural thirds, a different axis. But here we could, of course, there are endless, I mean, it's infinite possibilities to create such axis. The problem is only, can we perceive them? No? And in the ancient and today also with the piano tuning, of course, uh, um, uh, active tuning system that most music is relying on is just based on the 3 actually, and with some inclusion of 5 as a prime factor. You can see here medieval illustration of imagination of Pythagoras working on his monochord. So you have many different um, strings. They have all the same length, so that arithmetically it was very simple to relate these strings to each other. And then you have different bridges that he puts into the string. So, for example, when he divides a string by exact half of it, then he will always get an octave. No? And if he puts the bridges so that he cannot actually yeah, pluck the strings. The strings would not be um, pushed down exactly, so he would rely on harmonics. So he would really around this bridge, he would not get reliable or usable pitches in a way. He would really know exactly when this point is, then the octave sounds. No? A bit like I showed in the video before. And of course, the third is still is a very simple proportion. It's very easy to tune it by ear, and everything beyond was yeah, in a way discarded. This bastard here, I just is just to show you how complex these systems actually were. This is reconstructed by Ernest G. McLean, a musicologist, yeah, to which I will refer a lot tonight, who dedicated most of his life to the recovery of this knowledge. It is mostly relying on the Babylonians, and it was well known among Pythagoreans, and as we will see, also among biblical writers. You can maybe just one detail of this, which is yeah, the holy mountain. And we will come across a mountain god also. And according to Ernest McLean, this actually refers to music theory exclusively. I would not agree with that completely, but we will see that the musical connotations, the musical symbolism, will always yeah, correlate exactly with the story in a way. No? So here, for example, you can see between two values that are between the square root of 2. This is, you can even see the fall of Satan from the sky um, between those values. No? This is just a detail that I will not explain because it's very complicated even for me to understand this. And of course, we have no sources exactly of these depictions. This is something that Ernest McLean discovered, and then he just reconstructed by himself. No? So first of all, in all these tuning systems, we have the um, phenomenon of symmetry. For example, the basic pentatony of our scales can always be built by just using just two arithmetic intervals, just the major whole tone and the pure fourth, and then they can be this can just be mirrored in the other direction. This is how the Pythagoreans worked. And then we have already 5 pitches. No? If you, for example, you take this here, McLean has centered it on C, but we actually have to tilt it to G, and then you will see that it is actually symmetrical. No? And we have the same limit 5 tuning system in the creation week. No? So we have we build our pentatony symmetrically, and then we add 2 pitches. And these pitches will already give us a basic conflict, because if we in this scale it would now be B and F, and with B and F they would be the exact half of the octave, and then we already have the basic conflict in this so-called heptatonic scale. Let me just see. Yes. We will, as a convention, have to memorize that the number 2, it's the octave. So, as I said, just the half of a string. The number 2 will always be considered as a so-called female number. In music, the number two, the octave, will not add a different tuning, a different quality in our musical experience. It will just be a multiplication into a higher octave. So this is what the ancient writers considered like the mother of the tuning. And then we always have two sons. That is already becomes quite interesting now because the two sons reappear quite often in the Old Testament. Now we have the first son will be three. It's always the odd integers that follow until the five, or let's say the six, where our creation week stops. No? So we always have this very strong, the big number that creates the big tuning cycle and the big intervals, which is the so-called firstborn, but then preference will always be given to the second, which is like the weakling, as Ernest McLean puts it. We will encounter that very often. So the conflict between Cain and Abel, Ishmael and Isaac, and then the sons of Isaac, Esau and Jacob, which actually are reminiscent, of course, of Gilgamesh and Enkidu, where we also have this kind of the more refined, um, yeah, the more yeah, more sophisticated person, and his friend, which is kind of the nature boy. No? He has fur on his body, and he lives in with the animals. Enkidu. No? So Esau is a sort of Enkidu, no? And he will be disfavored as a heir in the end. No? But in order to reunite these digits, three and five, in one digital system, and that's now we come to the number symbolism of the Old Testament, we will need first a basic digit that is able to accommodate three and five and two. And if we multiply two and three and five, we will come to 30, which is a very important number. Actually, it will reappear in the story of Judas Iscariot, who is given 30 silver coins. No? And three, of course, is the 12th part of what? Of the symbolic year of the Hebrew calendar, which is 360, and is, of course, not by coincidence, also the degrees of a circle. No? Let's get back again to this heptatonic, so the seven note scale that we first have, which we musicians know from the church modes also, that because if we start at a different note in the same scale, we would always get a different church mode. And these will be filled into a chromatic system with the so-called 12 suns. Why are they suns? No? I mean, because the last note is an octave here. If I will show you, if we place this differently, then all pitches of the scale, of the 12-tone scale, which everybody knows from the piano, are suns, no? Because we have a basic conflict when we spread it out like this in the same symmetrical way we saw our pentatony before. This is actually what Ernest McLean refers to as the great serpent, which when we come to the story of the Exodus, we have the Pharaoh sitting, residing in midst of the Nile, no? Which points to something like this here, a symmetrical system. Then we have A flat is the sixth note from the beginning, from the first note, which is D here in this illustration, and we have G sharp, also the sixth note from there, which on the piano normally would be the same notes, but in reality, as just fifth, they are not. No? Um, we will encounter if we put these notes exactly next to each other that there's a small amount of difference, which is called the Pythagorean comma. Um, and the ancient writers must have encountered this problem as something like uh, a mistake in creation. Of course, it's a logical mistake. It's not really a mistake if we see it from a higher viewpoint, because two and three are different prime factors. And of course, if we multiply them, two and three will never come together. No? But they can come so close at the 13th note that ancient musicians, they would just, if they tuned by ear, they would just discard this difference. No? Um, I will now skip to a new little present demonstration. Just let me open that. Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, I apologize for this digital for these digital sounds I had to use. Um, just again, sorry. Yes, here we are. So let's just, we have these major whole tones. They are all the bigger suns. No? They are all like based on factor 3 and 2 in two directions. That's the first. No? So then we did the same from the other side, but they do not fit. And in order to fit them together, if we really want to create a yes, we are back. Sorry. If we really want to create a 12-tone cycle that really works without this kind of mistake, then we have to rely on an irrational number, and we will have to tune it exactly in the middle. No? This what music does with this yeah, let's say original sin is it integrates, it finds ways to solve the conflict. That is very interesting. Actually, the music theory in the Bible is never polarizing in a dogmatic way. It never says this is bad, this is good. It finds ways to cheat actually around the problem, which we yeah everybody knows from the story of Esau and Jacob, for example, that there's some cheating involved, but it comes to the cheating of Judas, of course, in the end, that which has a different meaning, which is more polar in a way that it's a bad. Yeah, we will see what that means in the end. No. Um, so, how do the biblical writers um, describe these pitches? They have no notation, they have no numbers, but what they have, they count different. Um, yeah, they know how they count certain values that give us the basic octave in which the pitches are placed. No? If we have 30, then the octave of 30 would be 60 because it's multiplied by 2. Sometimes we also have, which is the same octave now here between C and C, we would also start with a 60, and then we would have the higher octave would be 120. This is in order to have more different rational pitches in between. But also sometimes you would start with 90 and 180. So the actual the basic, the start of this system is not so important. There are many different ways they actually described these values. It is more important to understand that they refer to rational relationships. So we will see that in an extended way when we include the five as a factor, which gives us the basic triad, no? With with a third as a natural third, which would be 5 divided by 4. So in order to accommodate this third, we cannot use 60 and 30 anymore, because these thirds, they would not give rational numbers, no? Because we have nothing behind the dot, in these ancient writings. So we would, as solution, we would have something that is based again on this 30, but it has a higher value, 720, as the octave of the symbolic year with 360 days, no? And that gives us the ability to finally to describe the basic triad with rational numbers. But you will see, even we come the higher we get, the more differentiation we need. We will get very high numbers. I mean, there are, of course, everybody might be familiar with numbers like 144,000 from the Apocalypse. Of course, in Ernest Maclean's reading, all these numbers, they actually they describe a basic tuning cycle that is very differentiated. That's why it's so high, in order to have very different pitches.
Dear Stefan,
Yeah.
it looks like we have only partial of the image. So
Ah,
if you can just make it wider.
yes. How can I do it?
I don't know. So, but it's just
Did we
cut
have that from
part.
the beginning? Oh, that's a pity.
It's not for the beginning, but it's just when you started
Yeah.
this
How can
particular
I?
slideshow.
Is it better now? No.
No, maybe you can
Yes.
just stop sharing and share it again.
Yeah, I do that exactly.
Uh-huh,
I do it
uh-huh.
again because I have this green frame on it always when I do it.
Mhm.
Let's do it again. That should be it.
Yes, exactly. That's what we need. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. Yeah.
Mhm.
So then now, in order to make it even more complicated, we have now integrated the 5 as a prime factor. But the 5 as a prime factor means that we get a new family of sons. They are all the smaller sons. So we have the sons, I would call them the Cains or the Esaus, and or the Ishmaels, and then we have the smaller sons, which are based on 5, and these are more natural than natural thirds. I will show you in a bit a video where we can listen to this difference. These are the small the small letters here, no? And then these are the Jacobs, the Abels, the Jacobs, the Isaacs, no? So we will have Abraham's children, uh, as we will see, are very populous. No? I mean, it becomes more and more. But the conflict between these different sons can be described is described in the Bible as a jealousy between Sarai and Hagar. No? Abraham at 68, this is a very important number, 68, fathers Ishmael with Hagar, because Sarai cannot bear children at that age. No? Ernest Maclean reads this 868 as the sixth power of 8. No? Which gives us a certain, or it's the 18th power of 2 in the end, which gives us a certain limitation. Actually, I will not bother you with too much detail about that, but the limitation, it is exactly, it gives us the 12-tone cycle, no? Because it is within that frame. So the 13th note is excluded from that. Ishmael fathers 12 sons in Genesis 17:20. These are the 12 sons of Ishmael. It's the 12-tone cycle, in that regard. So at 99, Abram, who could be described as this pitch from the original D, it's the 234th, 243rd third pitch. No? It's based on 3, it's a multiplication of 3. Abram becomes Abraham, which has a different Hebrew value. If we count in the geometric value of the letters, which becomes 248. It's also which points to an octave multiplication. No? So now we will see that Abraham at 100 no, fathers with Sarai finally a son. But 100 divided by 90 is the smaller, the minor whole tone. No? Which this is actually the most direct, reliable reference to music theory. 10 divided by 9 is it's a little smaller. I mean, the difference is the so-called syntonic comma. We will listen to that in a bit. What I no, I can point to that later. Abraham divides the land. He is normally, I mean, he says to Lot, where you go right, I go left, where you go left, I go right. So he is indifferent to directions, which again leads to symmetry. No? Then that he has, he looks into both directions actually. No? So Abraham's children become more populous because then we have to double the amount again. No? So, and now all sons become circumcised as 8. At 8, this points to the octave. Abraham became circumcised at the age of 99. This is the time when Ishmael also became circumcised because he was born when Abraham was 86. So Ishmael is circumcised at the age of 13, which again points to the 12-tone cycle. Huh? So he must be circumcised at 13 because the 13th note is the note we have to circumcise in order to get our 12-tone cycle. So we will have 2 different commas. We will have the Pythagorean comma that results from the difference from the extremities of our 12-tone cycle of the problem that we cannot exactly divide our octave into 2 parts without resorting on irrationality. And then we have the syntonic comma, which is the difference between the 2 masses of suns. No? So those who are based on factor 3 and those who are based on factor 5. You can see in this image, no? I mean the problem of the commas, that both extremities point to a 13th note in the end. No? We will also have this in the name of Yahweh, that and the names of God, let's say in general, ne? Yahweh as yeah, being composed of the digits 10, 5, 6, and 5 could be read as the fifth power of 10 and the fifth power of 6 multiplied to this very high number, which is again like the frame of a tuning system. But Ernest Maclean has also read it as this fraction 1.26. And this is actually Yeah, compared to Gilgamesh, who reigned for 126 years, this is actually can be used as an approximation that is closer to the square root of 2 than the 125 that is resulting as a value, as a pitch value from building up these mountains. No? I mean, I don't want to bother you too much with that. I just want to you must maybe believe just in the possibility that these schemes were actually being created at that time. That they were they built the foundation of this tuning symbolism. Um, El Shaddai, the god of the mountain, ne? Sig um, has the value 31 plus 314, which makes 345. So 354, which makes again our one of our basic octave value 16, which is interestingly the same value as the name Moses has. So Moses, he is going to that mountain, you could say on the same level, on eye level, talking to God. No? We have then the conflict of the two sons again in the legend of Isaac. Isaac is 37 when his mother dies, and he is 90 when Rebecca is born. No? He is 40 when he marries um, Rebecca. No? And his sons value from 40, his sons would then value 40 and 45. Um, so Esau, as the firstborn, would only be able to encompass the again the sons that are based on factor 3, while Jacob has a wider range. And Jacob is in fact the lower octave of 90 again, and of 180, and which amounts in the Jewish calendar, which it's clear why his number is being favored. No? So that Esau has to be cheated out of his inheritance. That was actually his right as the elder son. No? Yeah, this is another way of depicting Esau and Jacob as pitches. No? They are both, they can be related back to the basic symmetrical pentatony that we saw in the beginning. One is a fourth, the other is a perfect fifth, and between them we have a major whole tone. No? Again, the twins. No? Yeah. Um, Now, if we, yeah, maybe let's listen first to this again to this problem between the different thirds. No? I would like to show you in between. Oh yeah, sorry, it starts on its own. So now, yes, come now. So we have here a justly tuned succession of the overtones, the partials 8, 9, and 10. No? This is yeah, just natural tuning. So the problem is if we have twice the major whole tone, no? um, we would get a different third, no? Because this would be, I mean, 9 and 8 multiplied, it would be become 801 divided by 64, sorry, 81 divided by 64, which is, yeah, in tuning theory, it's a very common number. It's called the Pythagorean major third. And the difference between that third and the natural third is, again, a different comma. It's a syntonic comma. Yeah, and that gives us the 5 divided by 4. This is the pitches that Ernest Maclean wrote as small numbers, and the others are the big numbers. No? So the bigger sons and the smaller sons. Yes, here we are. Let's now see how this relates to the New Testament. Andre, is it now the full screen again?
Yes, it's perfect.
Yes, yeah, it works. Thank you. Yeah. Mhm. So the problem of dividing the octave by an irrational number, we have seen that the so-called the devil in this system is irrationality, is the square root of 2. We have 12 disciples, and the 13th betrays the Christ. Why? Because he's so close to the Christ, to the original pitch, but he's not the same. No? And he actually kisses the Christ on the cheek. Yeah? And thus he betrays him. Yeah? And then he gets as a payment 30 silver coins, which is from a Pythagorean perspective, I mean, is like a pun, like a joke, no? Because he gets what he gets is the tempered semitone, no? Which is again the devil's number. Let's say it's irrationality. It's the 12th root of 2. No? There was I mean, because this is an anthroposophic lecture, I was looking for something that is very particular about Rudolf Steiner's reading of the New Testament, the two Jesus boys. And this was something that I don't know, maybe we might be able to talk about maybe together later. Um, I mean, these two Jesus boys have a different number of ancestors. I could not find like a final decision what these numbers really mean. But uh, we have 3 times 14 in Matthew, which amounts to 42, and then we have 77 ancestors in Luke. Um, 7 plus 7 gives 14 again. So I don't know. I couldn't find out what this 14 really means. But we anyway we just talk about a wrapping of sacred texts. In my opinion, I mean, of course, it cannot be that the Bible is just music theory. That would be meaningless. I mean, it might even be that all the I mean, this is just my uh, an idea. No? I mean, that this music theory as like a wrapping of sacred text, it was something like a blueprint or like a proof to show that these texts were sacred. Maybe it was even just the way of how these messages were channeled or accessed. No? I mean. Um, b- but certainly they must have a certain, I mean, they cannot be just arbitrary. We have again the value 86 we have already seen it in the names of God before in the story of Abraham. But now we will also encounter this number in in the story of the Christ. I'm just, yeah, 8 and 6 also gives 14, by the way. Really, this is something where I'm lost, unfortunately. No? Um, we have seen the pentatonic symmetry, and then we have the problem of integrating the sixth and the seventh note in our basic creation week, the heptatonic scale. And we have different possibilities to approach that. Interestingly, if we take the value of 686 again, and we will again get a way to balance the difference between F and B between these new extremities. No? And the Bible gives us yeah, a playful alternative to what should normally come out in its digital system. Yeah, to I mean, which is rational also, no? Because 729 is the sixth power of 3. No? Um, so the difference between 512, which would now mean the note F, and the pitch B would be so half of the octave exactly would mean um, 512. The stretch between 512 and 729. The difference that comes if we for 729 we put the value 720 is very simple, but it is closer to the actual square root of 2. No? You can see here in common modern cent, if we count in cents, the octave in cents would have 1,200 cents. So tempered semitone is 100 cent. So you can see the difference between 612 cents and 588 cents. You can see with this slight approximation, let's say, that just they are a little closer to each other. No? The median value would be 600 cents. So both of them are a little closer to the irrational root of 2. No? And which is a value that ancient writers could not compute, no? in their rational numbers. So yes, here we have again the problem with um, the Solomonic and the Nathanic Jesus boy. What I found interesting was that 7 multiplied by 7. This is now my own approach to it. It becomes 49, and 49 divided by 50 is in fact um, what the divine savior in the system, when we include the 7, which was excluded before, when the divine influence comes into play, no? Because that exists too. And then we will have the comma, the septimal comma between 49 and 50, which is a very small quarter tone. No? I will show you. Yeah. So this is again a value we can also refer back to the names of God in the Old Testament, and it is already appears in the visions of Ezekiel. No? This is what we can call city building, actually, which is also very common in Plato's writing. When a city is being described with a certain number of people. For example, in the story of Jonah and Nineveh, we have a city with 120,000 souls, uh, which gives us a certain octave and its relations inside this tuning cycle. No? Um, in this case, we have in the story of Ezekiel, we get a cycle within the frame of 5040 that is now able to accommodate various different commas. No? We have the syntonic comma, we have listened to it in the different thirds, the Pythagorean and the harmonic third. Now we also have a way to divide the octave into two different parts that are not completely equal, and the amount that remains in between is a so-called comma. It's the septimal comma, 49 divided by 50. I would like to show you that in a short demonstration again. Um, yes, it starts again on its own. So here we are, I hope. Yes, I don't know why it's not. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I have to open it again. It's not visible. Yes. Sorry, I cannot. Ah, yeah, now. Yeah, there's unfortunately, I'm sorry. There's a mistake in my movie. I have but it is clear from here now that we have two ways of dividing the octave into so-called halves. No? From one side, which would be 35 to 49, and then the octave of 35 is 70. No? We have an octave between 35 and 70. And then we have a different, it's the same amount, of course, another so-called half of the octave from 50 to 70. But in between, there's an amount, a small amount that stays open. And that's this septimal comma of 49 to 50. We can listen to it. Which is, well, if you want to tune instruments together and to play in the same melody, it is in fact a problem. Otherwise, if these pitches don't come together, of course, just tuning by ear one instrument, this difference would not bother anybody. No? It's smaller than a quarter tone. But this is what Ernest McLean identifies as the so-called divine savior. It is another symbol of this ingenuity of biblical writers to find different playful ways to balance the system that would otherwise collapse because it just didn't work. It would not fit completely. So yeah, this is another depiction of it. Again, we have these two parts that I showed, 7 to 5 and 5 to 7. And in midst of them, we have this small amount of roughly 35 cents that we have to fill. No? Yeah, 49. then it becomes even bigger. I mean, this is maybe just as an epilogue, I would say, because it becomes more and more complicated, and it can all be traced in a way, of course, to meaningful pitch numbers. No? We have this vision of Ezekiel maybe I may read it because I've already written it into my presentation. In the 25th year of our exile, at the beginning of the year, on the 10th day of the month, 14 years after the city had been captured. So we already have different factors, ne? So the 14 means the 7 is also included. On the very day the hand of the Lord came upon me and brought me back there. The hand of the Lord, which is a merciful hand, because in this tuning symbolism, it's the septimal comma that solves the apparent conflict between the pitches. In a divine vision, he brought me to the land of Israel, where he set me down on a very high mountain. Seek the mountain again. In front of me, there was something like a city built on it. He brought me there, and there, standing in the gateway, was a man whose appearance was like bronze. He held in his hand a linen cord and a measuring rod. So the measuring man. The man said to me, Son of man, look carefully and listen intently. Pay strict attention to everything I show you, for you have been brought here so that I might show it to you. Then you must tell the house of Israel everything you see. Um, I have not solved yet why the pitch. I mean, this is the day of when this vision happens. No? It would be the 8,650th day, which would be something like this here, like this. It is very close to the 13th partial. No? So it is actually closest to the proportion 13 divided by 8. And this is a number that is not being discussed in this number symbolism. So I'm unfortunately at loss here. But what is even much clearer is then if we call the Merkaba, which as I've seen in the news, unfortunately has a very evil meaning, because there's also an Israeli tank called Merkaba, as far as I know now. There's the spheres, the four spheres that are interconnected, that Ezekiel sees in his vision, and they can be identified as tuning circles, again, tuning cycles that are interrelated, so that we have different cycles with different digital digits, and different digits that mean different rational factors, 3, 5, and 7. No? Um, a qubit plus a handbreadth, which means we have 6 tempered whole tones of 200 cents, but they have to be balanced by a handbreadth, no? Because they are not exactly right. No? Because in reality, they would be based on, in natural tuning, they would be based on giant whole tones, so the major whole tone, 9 divided by 8, and the other whole tone, which is based on factor 5, 10 divided by 9. No? Which is which again amounts in the difference of the syntonic comma. No? So we can see that the 6 qubits are what I've showed you before, that these 6 whole tones, they build a whole tone scale of 6 equal parts. And in midst we will have to to figure out how to balance them, because otherwise we would just have an irrational system again based on square root of 2. No? Yeah, then in the end, in the city building, in the end, we come to something that Plato has actually described in the so-called city of Magnesia in his laws. It's actually something that I composed a piece upon. We might come to that in one of the next lectures. Um, the city of Magnesia is also based on 5040 because it includes the whole creation week with the day God rested. No? 1 multiplied by 2 and so on unto 7. And it is according to a book on Jewish metaphysics, the Sefer Yezirat, to which Ernest McLean refers. It's a book from the 19th century written by Isidor Kalisch on the cosmology on the Hebrew cosmology. And there this Isidor Kalisch interestingly uses exactly the same values. No? So I might read to you again Ezekiel 39 first, the prophecy against third prophecy against Gog. Everyone living in the cities of Israel shall go out and set fire to the weapons, buckler and shield, bows and arrows, clubs and spears. For 7 years they shall make fires with them. They will not need to bring in wood from the fields or cut down trees in the forest, for they will make fires with the weapons, plundering those who plundered them, pillaging those who pillaged them. Oracle of the Lord God. So now we have, in comparison to that, Isidor Kalisch's Sefer Yezirat. I may read from there. 2 stones build 2 houses. So one and so the first digits. 1 multiplied by 2 means 2. So we come to we will understand that the different numbers they mean multiplication, because 3 stones build 6 houses. 1 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3. 5 built 120. No? 4 built 24. Sorry, I jumped over that. Means 6 multiplied by 4 makes 224. No? 5 built 120 houses. 24 multiplied by 5. 6 built 720 houses. It's 120 multiplied by 6 makes 720. And then 7 built 5040 when all numbers come together multiplied. From thence further go and reckon what the mouth cannot express and the ear cannot hear, because the 7 in our tuning system until today, I mean, except for microtonalists like myself, is excluded from the tuning system. We still have the same music. Sorry, yeah. So we might even as an, let's say an epilogic look on different stories from the Old Testament. In Jonah, we have similar values, and then of course in the Revelation we have it again, the New Jerusalem, which is the cube power of 12,000, which is an even bigger number, within which we would be able to balance pitches even more, because there's more diversity of possibilities of rational numbers. Yeah. That's for my presentation so far. I would like to, in order to embellish this a little, because Andres told me let people listen to some music. I might complete that with a piece of mine, which is actually is played by myself. on an experimental Persian Sun tour. It evolved last year during a residency in Gotland in Sweden, on the island of Gotland, and it is based on two different commas in the septimal realm, based on Archytas's tuning. So the same, yeah, harmonic cosmos to which the divine savior 49 divided by 50 refers. Yeah, so just that you get an impression of how these quarter tones might have been used actually in ancient music. No? I will open that now. It starts right with the enharmonic genre by Archytas. This is just a demonstration. It is not yet a studio recording, but I found it interesting for giving you an idea. Actually, it can be found on the internet anyway. So here we are. So, yes, I might maybe just have just an addendum. I thought, I mean, if for the two Jesus boys, one dies at 12, Jesus matures at 30. Again, we have these numbers, and he is basically again we have what is very interesting. Um, because we talked about the two sons, no? And then so this may just as a theory, but it may point to the idea of I mean that I mean according to Rudolf Steiner, it is clearly referred to in the different gospels, no? So that if we talk about different boys, but now if we talk if we can put them into the into this legend of the two sons again, no? Then it's clear that one of them dies at 12 because the 12-tone cycle is finished there. And the other is again the second one that is based on a higher prime factor. No, I mean, just I do not want to say that the Bible is music only music theory. I just want to yeah to show how ingenious these people were while writing the mythology. No? I mean, while writing the Bible, that they were able to wrap all that into this kind of symbolism. No? It is uh, it is just fascinating, yeah, in a way. Yeah, thank you. That's so far my presentation. I cannot hear you,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Andre. Now, yes,
I've
wonderful.
been muted. So thank you, Stefan. So can we ask some questions?
Absolutely, please. Yeah,
So, so we had previous conversation yesterday, and what you said is quite interesting. So that Rudolf Steiner told that we are, in terms of music, are really behind. I mean, as humanity in general. So can you give an example of, for example, more or less famous composer which is performing or composing music which is relates to our time? And maybe you can give an example of composer which is already kind of leading us in the future. So honestly, unfortunately, we are kind of poisoned by commercial music and popular music. So, and as I understand, like for example, Pyotr Tchaikovsky, it's already relates to the past, right? It's wonderful dance music or so, but I've been trying to listen, for example, Alfred Schnittke or Gubaidulina, or even your pieces. So, and of course, I mean, I understand it's just music, not for kind of complete fun. So it just it needs some maybe work, or you should just feel what's it's actually touching in your being. So I mean, this kind of question, who is really a great example which is relates to present time, but not behind, but kind of progressive.
it's a good question. Yeah? I mean, um, well, 20 years ago, I discovered it was one of my first academic publications, actually. I discovered in Sibelius's Fourth Symphony a new tuning system, which it blew my mind at that time because I was working on something very similar, and that also it led into, let's say, something more intercultural, because the obvious consequence of Sibelius's new ground would be something that we would experience as something intercultural, something related to Makam, actually, to Middle Eastern Makam. Yeah? But the problem is, of course, we are living with a very a big harmonic baggage, let's say, no? On our backs. I mean, on our shoulders. We have to Christianize that, and the question is, it is difficult to well, what is the future of music? We will try to find that in the next meetings. I mean, what I wanted to show here first was a time when physicality and spirit are deeply intrinsically connected. No? I mean, for the ancient Greek, when I play pieces on the piano, um, it would be not as acceptable as for our ears today, because the ancient Greek is not in the same. Well, I would at least this would be my theory, at least my speculation, would not be in the same, would not have the same tolerance to just correct something just arbitrarily, no? Because the pitches on the piano are all wrong, no? They are all based on the square root of 2. They are not physically, they are not exactly the same like natural intervals, no? And so in our time, we have much more tolerance over that because we are already moving out of physicality again, no? And so that's why in ancient writings, this is so important to deal with the challenges of physicality and to bring them together. No? I mean, um, uh, unfortunately, I mean, I'm talking now to you are probably all have more experience and more knowledge of biblical writing than I have. No? I mean, I'm just naively presenting what the musical side of it says, not trying to implicate to imply that that's all, of course. But it's difficult. I mean, what composers? I mean, they're always. I mean, Wagner is not yet completely. I mean, the importance of Wagner will still come out more. No? I mean, there are so many. We talked yesterday about the musical magic in the Klingsor chord in Parsifal. Wagner, he was in. He has the same ingenuity. It's funny to say, like it's something I would say like a Jewish ability of humor and of flexibility. Of if I see it, if I compare to the Bible, no? Because Wagner is normally being associated with anti-Semitism. No?
Mm.
Um, but his work, of course, is in many ways redeeming, no? Because it is not. It is questionable whether his anti-Semitism is present in his work. I would deny that, actually. No. Yeah. Um, but in present music, we have bits and pieces. I mean, we have I mean, I'm connected to very uh, interesting and very engaged people who are interested in tuning systems, microtonalists. But also there, you have often the problem that people they would see that just as a sort of materialistic game. No? That you would just say, well, interesting. I have this very complicated proportion now, and I can play it. But spiritually, or for the soul, on the soul level, it means nothing. No? And this is something where we have to work on. The music has to mean something on a deeper level than just on an intellectual. No? And this is very hard to find, I would say today. No? But we are basically in between this. This is the basic challenge to re-Christianize music, no? At the moment. No?
Yeah. In 1912, Steiner gave a lecture in Helsinki.
Hmm.
I think it was April 3rd, 1912, and he invited everybody to do exercises with open eyes, which is observation of blue sky and white snow, green grass. And multiple times when person observing to having experience of same object, it leads to person to etheric. And why I'm talking about it, because, the last exercise, what he proposed, it was exercise of listening active, two strings together. So, and this kind of listening of tones will lead human being right into etheric world.
Yeah. Mm.
So super
Yes.
sensible, super.
Yes. Mm. Super sensible. Yeah, exactly.
So
Mm.
yeah, do you think it's something which is kind of also will be provided by musical pieces and compositions of the future to humanity?
Well, look, yeah, according to Peter-Michael Riehm, of course, I mean, Steiner's idea was that in the end we would live in just one tone. No? We would find the whole of music. No? I mean, I have always regarded the step into atonality, Schoenberg's step, as a mistake, as a historic mistake. Um, and I was favoring more these ways by, let's say, more smoother composers like Jean Sibelius, who invented a new tuning system even without knowing what he had done, I suppose even. Um, but according to Peter Michael Riehm, there was a necessity in stepping into atonality because he said, well, formerly the human being was being provided harmony and consonance and harmony in a sense of aesthetic harmony too. And now we will have to face the challenge to create harmony actively by listening to disharmonious music. So that was his view of especially of 12-tone music, no? Of dodecaphony. That there was a historic necessity. It's a bit like, I don't know, in Turkey there was a Sufi teacher whom I met many times, and he said that the Sufis they were always or there were these Kemalist Turks. They would say that Atatürk had no, sorry, it was the Sufis actually. He said that, well, Atatürk did a mistake by abolishing the caliphate. No? And then maybe also with this kind of Hebrew humor, his answer to that was, well, if Allah hadn't wanted that, it wouldn't have happened. No? So in the end, of course, it's probably there's a necessity to listen to all kinds of contemporary music. I mean, it's difficult to exclude now any of my colleagues because I mean we need all of it because otherwise it's like when we say, well, we should not play bad music in concerts. But if you don't have the bad music, you also don't have the good music because you need to play everything in order to select what's good in the end. No? Yeah. Um, but I think this kind of spiritual hearing, spiritual listening is, of course, something that everybody can do at home. No? I mean, you just need a string or an instrument. I mean, it is not connected to the music history to which we refer when we talk about composers, I would say. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, thank you. So, dear friends, so if you have any questions, do you know how to raise your hand or just start to speak? Um,
I would like to ask something.
sure.
yeah.
Okay.
My name is Veronica. I live in Pennsylvania.
For some reason, you are too. Can you
No.
can you make your mic louder or something like because we cannot hear you?
Don't know.
Uh-huh.
Is this better?
Yeah, it's okay.
Well, yes, we can try.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you. This was extremely interesting.
Thank
Um,
you.
I'd like to add something to the question of the etheric in the music. And I was wondering if you know the work of Manfred Blefort.
No,
You do not.
no, Manfred Blefort. Okay.
Yeah. So he, as far as I know, he's still alive. He would be a fairly old man now. He has also experimented with those different tunings from different cultures and very much based on the insight of Rudolf Steiner. And what he says about music based on the seventh and music based on the sixth and the ninth and things like that, and the pure fifths. So he has done a lot in that respect. But also one of his major contributions to music into the future in my mind is his development of very, very special metal instruments. So that brings me to this whole question of the etheric in music, because I think one important aspect is the quality of the tone of a musical instrument. And some musical instruments have a more etheric tone than others. And so I have done, actually wrote a little paper about that many, many years ago. So you know, the electronic sound is totally non-etheric because it's electronically produced.
Yeah.
It has no life in it whatsoever.
Yes.
And then at the other end of the spectrum, from what I know, are, for example, those instruments by Manfred Blefort, those metal instruments that have a very, very special sound. So he has made metal instruments from iron, from bronze. I have some of those instruments, and there are other metal workers, particularly in Germany, that also work in that respect, and they are incredible metal instruments, triangles, gongs, finger cymbals, you name it. That have
interesting.
a totally
Very interesting.
different sound from anything you find in an orchestra or in a music college or so. But another stream of instruments that is now getting actually 100 years old this year is the modern lyre. And that goes back to two young men that knew Steiner, and they built this new instrument, Gärtner and can't think of the other one now, sorry. And that instrument is very, very special in its sound quality. And then out of that, the possibilities of listening and also composing. And so that whole question of the etheric, I think, cannot quite be answered without exploring those new instruments.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Particularly the lyre. I play it. I have played it. I'm a professional musician by background.
Yes, yeah.
Switzerland, and viola and piano, and then I came across the lyre later in my late 20s, and it's an incredible instrument. And so you might just try to explore it, and see what's going on.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
But also the work of Manfred Blefort, he also, he hasn't written any books, no. But a lot of his instruments are in Germany. Here I have, well, actually the gongs I have are not by him, but I have some bronze rods that he made. And
I will look into that.
Listen to those things, and they have at least 4 or 5 tones in there. It's incredible. It's really, really very special how he worked with the material and how he was able to create instruments where you can potentially hear a multitude of tones that have a very special relationship to each other in relation to the overtone series or a particular interval that he was interested in. So, just a suggestion.
Very interesting. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But thank you for what you brought about the Bible. I've always been fascinated about these numbers, and I never thought about musical laws.
Yeah,
so
it's mostly thanks to Ernest G. McLean. I was just channeling his research, actually.
Yeah, wonderful. It's very inspiring. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, something that comes up to my mind is, of course, I mean, maybe that would be like a homework. What about Harry Partch? It would be interesting what you think about his music, because he built new instruments and he extended basically. I mean, my music also, most of it is based on is a limit 11, no? And this is what you also favored. And is there anything etheric in Harry Partch's music, or is it just again materialistic modernism? That would be interesting. I would be very curious. No?
Okay. How do
about
you
what,
spell his
yeah.
last name?
Parts, sorry, just T, sorry again, yeah. Partch.
Potch. Okay. Okay,
Parch, yeah.
I'll look him up.
Hmm.
And then if I may just ask one question, when you played those
Hmm.
musical examples, I wasn't always sure when you played the difference between, a G sharp and an A flat. I wasn't
Yes,
quite sure which was which.
yeah,
So
yeah.
with these relationships, which one is higher, the G sharp or the A flat?
In Pythagorean tuning, the G sharp is higher.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what.
because you have to think that they are too big, it goes up, the other goes down.
Right.
But in mean tone, I mean, like people of early music, they would normally think in mean tone temperament, and then A flat is actually higher.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Well, that is interesting.
yeah,
All right. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Mm.
Thank you. Okay, dear friends, more questions to Stefan or statements, maybe? Not a question, but statements. Hmm. Nicola, if you would like to speak, you are muted. Nicola.
Yeah, it was most of it was way above me. I just in, but I just that you were interested in 14. I mean, I'm a Pythagorean mathematician and not a musician.
Ah,
So, but so the number 14, I would just add that there are 14 stations of the cross, which has always been,
yes,
so that might be
yes,
just to
exactly.
pop
Thank
in.
you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
This is, I mean, I didn't have enough time to go into that because McLean didn't write about everything, and then some things I figured out myself. But um, yeah, I mean, next time I would like to do this very differently because I would more refer to my teacher, Peter-Michael Riehm, and then to this Heiner Ruland with their crazy tuning cycles that are related to Steiner writings, actually. Yeah, directly. So yes, there are these theories that in Atlantis, they were making music this way and so on. And then there's the ancient India and ancient Persia and so on. And to try to make something of these cycles, and I have to record them actually myself, no? Because there's no music related to that. So, but we would get more into this experimental music, of course, then. No? Yeah. And we would listen more. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay. Robin, please.
What can you say about the whole shift that pushed us to go from A432 to A440?
Hmm. Well, I don't know, but we talked about it yesterday with Andre, no? And I think Are Thoresen had an
Yeah, this is,
yeah.
I edited his book in Russian language, and it was part of his book that I think with impulse from Rothschild family, this particular tone was changed, which is, and Ari Torreson, he is a clairvoyant,
Mhm.
and according to his observations, so it's created special type of natural beings, which are mostly harmonic type of beings.
At 440?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's considered a scientific standard that doesn't.
Yeah, and we have even more today. We have 40 normally in orchestra. I mean, 2 years ago with Staatsphilharmonie, we had this problem because I had a Turkish musician and his kanun was on 440. and then the Staatsphilharmonie, they play 442 or 443 even. Ne? So it's even higher. Ne? That's like more the standard today, ne? The
Yeah,
instrument.
I mean, Holt's story is very interesting. I mean, it's question to me how it can be done, like in the form of law for all musicians. And Ari Torresson said, I mean, so now it's not only in electronic music, but it's also during classical performances of acoustic instruments. And so those backward or retarded elemental beings are showing up.
Yeah, it's a challenge because
Mhm.
when we bought a new piano in Munich years ago, it was done at 432. But then I
Ah,
bought a new flute, a silver flute, not a recorder, and it was at 440. And I can't change that easily to go
mm,
down, so we had to bring the piano now up
mm.
and retune it. And that's why I was asking, because when you listen to it, it's like, and I can't say I remember much of what the 432 sounded like on his piano because we wanted to play together. So it's like, what does it do to our etheric? And that would be something that would be very interesting to
Yes, that would be
understand.
interesting. Or to listen to the same music. I mean, of course, in early music, the question is to have, yeah, I mean, like historic recordings, no, of something. I mean, like authentic recordings of something, or not recordings. I mean, like it has to be played live because the recording itself is already, again, there's a digital project process involved, and that changes the energy also. No?
Yeah. And as I understand, if folks are playing on original Baroque style instruments,
Yeah,
they're down. They're not at
yeah,
the
exactly.
440.
Yeah, yeah,
So when
exactly.
you go to an authentic Baroque concert, you're getting the effects of that.
Yes.
But I never thought about that until, yeah, okay. That's another one. That's another scientific, spiritual scientific research project potential.
Yeah, the problem is that if you view it just materialistically, then you just I don't know. There's this theory that Beethoven's, for example, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, C minor, now it sounds like C sharp minor, no? Because it's like a semitone higher, no? In comparison to its period, but that just changes the like the tone psychology, no? I mean, you may listen to I mean, Mahler's Fifth Symphony is actually by coincidence in C sharp minor, and that doesn't mean that just because of the key, it is worse than, I mean, the energy would be worse than Beethoven's, no? Or that than a C minor symphony by Bruckner or whatever. I mean, it's or the second symphony by Mahler. I mean, um, the question is on which level does this change of the chamber note really work? No? I mean. And I suppose the spiritual level is a different level than the one that we just experience with the senses. I mean, yeah.
Well, I can say that if I've had a really, really rough week or I'm dealing with health issues and I go and listen to a Baroque concert with my sense organs,
Hmm.
I feel something inside of me that is totally different. It
Mm.
is like a true medicine.
You mean live,
Live,
live concert?
not
Yeah, yeah,
record,
of course, live. Yeah.
live
Mm.
concert.
Mm.
There is a difference than just listening and going to an orchestral, a regular orchestral piece. There's just
Mm.
something totally different because they don't use any kind of speakers or microphones or anything. It is always
Mm.
just in a small room where the only thing that impacts the tone is the wood surroundings in the room,
Yeah.
which gets it as pure as you're going to get it in our current situation. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
To what years Baroque style relates in the human history?
It stops in the late 1600s, early 1700s, I believe. And it's coming back. Do we have 1400s? I know we have 1500s. So you're talking Bach. You're talking, they'll even play at times some of the Vivaldi stuff. Definitely 16 to 1700s, probably 1500s. But it's a beautiful set and it's a total different perspective.
So it relates to fifth cultural period.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's still fifth
of course.
cultural period, but it's earlier on than what we've got now.
The earliest, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can't figure out how to raise my hand. Steiner was very clear in the Inner Nature of Music lectures that 432 was the actual resonance of the human heart. And so I've always found that to be the reason. So I have my piano tuned to 432. And I also have silver flutes are a little bit easier than other instruments because you can just pull the head out a little bit and adjust that. But some are hard, like a trombone is pretty difficult. The other brass, winds are harder. But yeah, that was most of Manfred Bleffert's work also was really closely related to this feeling of 432 coming from the human being. And I mean, if we think about all of the things that are coming out now and we understand our toroidal field, that it begins and ends in the heart, it makes so much sense to me that Steiner actually already knew that, and we just took a long time to figure it out. So that retuning to 440 was kind of part of this removing our human selves from our spiritual nature, in my, thought. That's all. Thank you. Thank you so much for this.
Elizabeth, what was the name of that lecture series again, please?
And there we go. That is the inner nature of tone, inner nature of music and the experience of tone.
Okay.
It was 15 lectures, I'm not sure, and that was just before he passed. So
I've got that book. There's 7, at least of this version, there's 7 lectures in it.
Well, maybe there was 2 books then. I'd have to go back and look. Yeah, but they're very interesting lectures, and it's very clear how some of the things that kind of happened in Waldorf music education happened out of context of the things that he stated. Yeah, but he states that very clearly.
Interesting. I recall that Are Torresen, he said that, I mean, normally the elemental beings of tone, they always are kind of very grim, really grumpy. And but the only I hope I recall it right, that he said the only time when he saw that the elemental beings were actually like joyful and like dancing was at a ceremony in Bulgaria. Is that right? Yeah. Kind of a shamanic dance.
Please. It's in relation to pan-eurythmy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're opening a very interesting topic because pan-eurythmy was conceived by Peter Dinov. So, and it's interesting because like a latest research so the Peter Dünhoff is reincarnation of Master Jesus of Nazareth.
Oh.
Um, yeah, and people encountering, I mean, of course, clairvoyant people encountering him, but it's one step higher than even Christian Rosenkreuz.
Well, I'm not sure about that, and I don't have the specifics to, come back, but I've been told by multiple people that Steiner said he wasn't an incarnation of Master Jesus. He was a very high initiate, but not there. He knew about Peter Donoff while he was still alive. But that one, I'm going to go see if I can't find something on that. I just wanted to kind of leave that maybe as an open question as to where he is and what he was, just so, because Master Jesus is a very special being.
Yes.
We just have to be careful as to who we associate with that being.
This is Zarathustra. So this is like new name of Zarathustra, but it's actually out of immediate perception of Ari Torresson. Yeah, okay. So do you think, dear friends, it's enough for now? Yeah. Greg, Vic, would you like to say something, Greg? No? You good?
No, I missed most of this, so I'll hear it later. But I'm very interested to know what could be new. Yeah, to learn new things about music.
Yeah, Stefan promised, so next session will be a lot easier.
Yeah, of course. We will more play with the. I mean, one more thing you might listen to, I was curious about. It's there's a Sufi teacher, an American Sufi, Kabir Helminski. Maybe the name is rings a bell. Is quite well known, and we talked about that in Istanbul once. The question: why is Persian music so much? Why it sounds so spiritual and much deeper than Turkish music, although it has just a very limited pitch supply normally. Yeah? You just have 7 heptatonic scales normally in Persian music. And when I went to Iran, there was this, I experienced people like, there were more like the granddaughters and grandsons of Zarathustra than Islamic in a way, no? Because there was in their playing, there was this kind of fire, and it was almost, yeah, I wouldn't say demonic because that's something negative, but there was some very fiery energy in that. And I mean, I could make some suggestions. What you might listen to. The problem is, of course, if when we talk about recordings, we will always have to filter it through this digital system, né? But maybe it's better than, at least it's better than electronic music. No? Yeah.
Well, but Iranian considered by Rudolf Steiner as very lofty culture.
Mhm.
You know that origin of Hebrew people, it's kind of mix of Iranian and Turanian. And Turanian, this is
Yeah.
Turks.
Yeah.
But Turanian mostly considered as
Didn't like so much. No.
kind of wild.
Yeah.
Wild, and I mean, it's just living with horses, etc.
Yeah.
So, but Iranians, they've been very lofty culture, like culture of Zarathustra.
Yes.
Zoroastrians. So we have big population of Iranian folks which are here, and that they have still sign of Zoroastrian style. Are on the flag.
Yeah.
Okay, Barbara Puke. Barbara, where you are? Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, where can I find the recording of this?
Of this, I
Please.
can make. I would. I can send everything to Andre maybe, and he might share. It's. I have a YouTube channel. If you just Google me, you will find a lot.
So did you do recording too, Stefan? So I did recording for.
No, I didn't. No,
Oh, you
you
did.
did. No,
I
yeah,
did
okay. It's
recording.
not lost. Great, yeah.
But Barbara asking about recording of this session.
Of
Lecture,
this
yeah, I
session.
had computer problems and I missed almost all of it.
Yeah. No,
Well,
yeah. This is. It will reappear. It will appear, no, on the channel sometime later.
Threefold Mankind's channel. So this is platform Threefold Mankind. It's not Steiner branch. It's independent.
Okay.
Okay, dear friends.
Is the 3 written as 3 or printed out 3?
It's written
Oh,
3.
it's not a tree number. It's 3. TH.
Threefold. Okay. Thank you.
One
Yeah.
last question, Andre and Stefan. Any chance we can get copies of the slide deck? Because there was a lot of good information there with the recording.
Yes, I can do something of that. Yeah.
That would
Just
be
don't show it
beautiful.
because it's. I hope it's not too crappy. I hope there are no mistakes in it. But for you, of course, I can. If you keep it to yourself,
Not a problem. I'm
Yeah.
not into publishing.
so that nobody comes and what's that? I mean, this kind of.
Yeah, if you can convert it into PDFs, it will be the best.
I can make a PDF, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything I took pictures of, it's always got a glare on it, and it's hard to see
Yeah, of course.
the
No.
data there. Thank you.
Yeah, we can do it.
Yeah, that would be very, very helpful, definitely.
Mhm.
A lot of information.
Yeah, there are also the MacLean has basically. I mean, he's dead, but most of his works are just open to the public on his website. I can also send a link of about that. No? I mean, all of his writings are actually open to the public.
Okay.
Just on its website, you can download them.
Yeah, send it to me and you, dear friends, you can actually always ask for copy from like my email address.
That would be great.
Dear Stefan, so when we have your next presentation, so do you remember?
It's like in 2 weeks, no? I suppose.
Weeks, which is what?
11th. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good number.
So it will be April 11th. So, but you're promising more entertaining, Chris.
Yes, I have to get back into this Ruland, and it's yeah, of course, and we will be more anthroposophic. I mean, in the way, no? I mean,
Oh yeah,
it's very much yeah.
Okay. All right, dear friends, if you would like to have a copy, I can also send you. Please use my email address. And dear Stefan, thank you so much for your
Thank you. Yeah, it's my pleasure.
your presentation. So, and we'll meet you again.
Hopefully, see you next time. Yeah.
April 11th. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah. Bye.
Okay, bye. Dear friends,
Bye.
thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Andre.
Take care.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Bye.